Imagine a mountain so deadly that its nickname is simply Killer Mountain. A peak where entire expeditions vanished, where legendary climbers disappeared into thin air, and where even success feels like surviving a war. This is Nanga Parbat in Pakistan, the 9th highest mountain on Earth and one of the most dangerous ever climbed. Today, we uncover who first stood on its summit, who first died trying, why around 70 climbers have lost their lives here, and the question that haunts every expedition. Why are humans still drawn to a mountain that keeps trying to kill them? On the western edge of the Himalaya, where Pakistan's mountains rise like a stone wall against the sky, one peak stands almost alone. Nanga Parbat, 8,126 meters high. Its name roughly means naked mountain because its massive rock walls rise sheer and are exposed above the forests and meadows below. From the green pastures of fairy meadows, it looks almost unreal. A white pyramid of ice and stone towering more than 4,500 meters straight up from the valley floor. On its southern side lies the Rupal Face, often called the highest mountain face in the world, near a vertical wall of rock, ice, and hanging glaciers. But climbers don't just know Nanga Parbat for its beauty. They know it for its statistics. For decades, Nanga Parbat had one of the highest fatality rates of any 8,000-meter peak. By the early 2020, historical tallies show around 70 climbers losing their lives on its slopes, giving it a reputation matched only by other monsters like K2 and Annapurna. This is how that reputation began. The story of Killer Mountain begins long before the age of high-tech gear and satellite forecasts. In 1895, British climber Albert F. Mummery, one of the greatest mountaineers of his time, set his sights on Nanga Parbat. At that time, no human had even come close to climbing an 8,000-meter peak. Mummery and his small team, including 2 Gurkha companions, Ragobir Thapa and Goman Singh, approached the mountain via the Diamir Face. Their maps were crude. Their weather data was guesswork. Their clothing and equipment would be considered primitive today. High on the mountain, they disappeared. Most accounts agree that Mummery and the 2 Gurkhas were likely killed in an avalanche, swept away on the very face that still intimidates climbers more than a century later. Their bodies were never found. Albert F. Mummery is remembered as the first recorded climber to die on Nanga Parbat, and his fate set the tone for the next half-century. Nanga Parbat was not just hard, it was hostile. In the 1930s, Nanga Parbat became an obsession, particularly for German and Austrian climbers. In the shadow of growing nationalism before World War II, Nanga Parbat was promoted as a German mountain, a peak where a German victory would prove the strength of the nation. This mix of politics, pride, and ambition drove multiple large expeditions to its slopes. Then came 1934. A German-led expedition was trapped high on the mountain when a ferocious storm struck. For days, hurricane-force winds and blizzards pounded the climbers and their high-altitude porters. Tents were shredded. People were buried in snow. The rescue became impossible. When the storm finally cleared, a large portion of the team was dead, German climbers and local porters alike. Different historical sources list slightly different numbers, but that single expedition remains one of the deadliest disasters in Himalayan mountaineering history. To the world, Nanga Parbat now had a reputation. It wasn't just difficult, it was lethal. Yet, the obsession continued. It would take nearly 60 years after Mummery's disappearance for a climber to finally stand on Nanga Parbat's summit. In 1953, an Austrian climber named Hermann Buhl joined a German-Austrian expedition led by Karl Herrlikoffer. The team aimed for the Rakyat flank, a complex route weaving through glaciers and cliffs. On the 3rd of July 1953, Buhl set off on his final summit push. The rest of the team turned back exhausted and uncertain. But Buhl kept climbing alone. He climbed through the day and into the evening at extreme altitude with no supplemental oxygen and minimal equipment by today's standards. According to accounts, he even took a stimulant to stay awake and keep moving. As darkness fell, Buhl realized he was still too high on the mountain to safely descend. He did the unthinkable. He spent the night standing upright on a tiny ledge, unable to sit or lie down, clinging to the mountainside at over 8,000 meters, desperately trying not to fall asleep and topple into the void. The next day, he continued down, stumbling and frostbitten. eventually reaching his team after a grueling 41-hour solo effort. Hermann Buhl became the first person to reach the summit of Nanga Parbat, and he did it in a style so bold that it still astonishes climbers today. Nanga Parbat had finally climbed, but its dark legend was far from over. If Nanga Parbat's north side is formidable, its south side, the Rupal Face, is something else entirely. In 1970, a young Reinhold Messner and his brother Günther joined an expedition attempting a direct route up the Rupal Face. The climb was monumental, thousands of meters of exposure, unstable ice, and rockfall. They succeeded in reaching the summit, but the descent turned into a nightmare. Exhausted and facing dangerous conditions, the brothers decided to descend via the Diemir Face down the opposite side of the mountain. During that harrowing descent, Günther Messner disappeared, likely swept away by an avalanche. For decades, controversy swirled around what exactly happened on that descent. But one fact is beyond debate. Nanga Parbat claimed another life, and this time it was the brother of one of the greatest mountaineers in history. The Rupal Face became synonymous with extreme commitment and extreme risk. Plenty of mountains are high, plenty of mountains are steep. So, what makes Nanga Parbat stand out as one of the world's most feared peaks? There are several brutal reasons. Enormous vertical relief Nanga Parbat rises more than 4,500–5,000 meters almost straight up from the valleys below. Climbers face long, sustained climbs with very few safe places to rest. If something goes wrong high on the mountain, getting down fast is almost impossible. Unstable terrain. The mountain's great faces are covered in seracs, unstable ice towers, avalanche-prone slopes, and rockfall zones. Even strong climbers can be taken out by something they never see coming. Deadly weather in Nanga Parbat sits where moist air from the Indian monsoon and cold systems from Central Asia can clash. The result? Sudden storms, whiteout conditions, ferocious winds at high altitude, clear skies can turn into a life-threatening blizzard in a matter of hours. Complex routes. There is no truly easy route on Nanga Parbat. Even the so-called normal routes, like the Kinshofer route on the Diemir side, involve steep mixed climbing on rock and ice, fixed ropes, and constant exposure to objective hazards. At over 8,000 meters, climbers enter the death zone where the body slowly dies from lack of oxygen. Decision-making slows, muscles lose power. A simple mistake, like clipping into the wrong rope or misjudging a step in the dark, can be fatal. All these factors combined explain why, historically, Nanga Parbat's fatality rate has been so high. By the early 2020, records showed around 70 climber deaths on the mountain. The exact number varies between sources, and a few more have likely been added in recent years, but the picture is clear. On Nanga Parbat, the margin for error is almost zero. Knowing all this, you might ask, why would anyone willingly come here? Why cross half the world to risk avalanches, storms, and frostbite on a mountain literally called Killer Mountain? For many climbers, Nanga Parbat is more than a danger. It's a dream. It's one of the 8,000-meter peaks on Earth, a rare club. Its history is packed with heroic success and tragic failure, giving it an almost mythic aura. Climbers speak of standing at its base and feeling a powerful mix of fear and fascination. The sense that they're staring at the edge of what humans are capable of. Some are drawn by the challenge. To measure themselves against the same slopes that defeated Mummery, that killed elite German climbers, that took Günther Messner, and yet allowed Hermann Buhl to stand on its summit alone. Others are drawn by the beauty of the Karakoram and Western Himalaya, the green meadows, the glaciers glowing blue at dawn, the way the summit turns pink in the evening light. And for local Pakistani climbers and high-altitude porters, Nanga Parbat can also be a source of livelihood and pride. A chance to showcase their skill and resilience on the world stage. Ask 10 climbers why they came to Nanga Parbat and you'll get 10 different answers. Ambition, curiosity, ego, spiritual search, the need to test limits. But beneath all those reasons lies one simple truth. There is something inside us that is drawn to the edge. From Mummery's disappearance in 1895 to Hermann Buhl's legendary first ascent in 1953, to modern winter climbs and ongoing expeditions, Nanga Parbat has tested every generation of climbers who've dared to step onto its slopes. It has taken lives, it has made legends, it has turned quiet valleys in Pakistan into the stage of some of mountaineering's most unforgettable stories. And still, every season, new climbers arrive, standing at the foot of the naked mountain, staring up at the same icy walls, feeling the same mix of terror and fascination. So the real mystery isn't just why Nanga Parbat is so deadly. We understand the avalanches, the storms, the altitude. The real mystery is this. Is Nanga Parbat a lesson in human courage or in human obsession? Is Killer Mountain a warning we keep ignoring, or a mirror that shows us how far we're willing to go to touch the sky? You decide.